Hello everyone, this is a very basic yet entertaining introduction to Unreal Engine for visual effects artists. So as you know, the game engines are evolving and they are becoming an integrated part of many film and visual effects productions. So this tutorial is not aimed at any game development. It's aimed for the artists who are working in film or visual effects or ideally animation, and they're looking to see the possibilities of acquiring a real-time engine for their productions. So actually, I was looking at this painting the other day, and then I was thinking, okay, so how fast I can make the whole environment, like apart from the old lady, but the surrounding, the environment around her. And it turned out that I could build up something pretty close pretty fast. So this is what I have achieved in like about an hour. So with all the details that you can see, ash on the floor, like a little bit of wood logs around, and so, and I even made a kind of a sequencer here that you see through the camera. Okay, we're gonna start making all of this from scratch. So I'm gonna go and create a new project, and this new project is gonna be a film and television and live events. And let's start with blank. However, make sure that you turn on your ray tracing. So when ray tracing is turned on, you will see a very sharp decrease in your real-time playback. So like if you look at the FPS here, you will see that it's pretty low. It's like about 8 frames per second. Although for a visual effects artist, this is incredible, but from a game point of view, game design point of view, this is terrible. You're looking for anything above 30 frames per second, but that's okay. So because that's not what we are concerned at this time, so we are looking at something that is worthy of cinematics and yet has all the details that we are looking after. So I'm gonna make a ray tracing enabled. Here I make a I don't know, let's call it painting, or let's call the workshop real-time VFX. So create the project. So before jumping into Unreal Engine, we're gonna so this is our first step, blocking. Blocking means like first analyze your reference. So we have a box here which is like a fireplace or probably an oven. There are a bunch of shelves here, a bunch of kitchen stuff, a chair, a wooden chair, and stool there, an ash pot or fire pot or some stuff around. So it's always easier to do a blocking in Maya. So inside Maya, you see that like I just simply so inside Maya you can see that like I basically assemble these boxes around. Like these are just a bunch of, literally a bunch of very simple boxes. I like put them around. One important thing is make sure that before exporting them out, so you see that like this one has a transformation, so I make sure that I make sure that all of them have their like Alt Shift. You press Alt Shift D to make sure that the transformation is 0 out. If it doesn't work, go to the edit, delete by type, history, and also modify freeze transformation. So this transformation seems not getting frozen still. Anyway, okay, so just a basic blocking, and then once ready, group them, name them properly: fireplace, floor, wall 1, wall 2, chair, and then export them as export. I'm gonna select them, so I'm not gonna export the camera and everything. Export selection as FBX. You see that I have exported them as, let's call it room as FBX. There's some stuff that you have to take care before exporting. Make sure I keep the animation on, but there's no keyframe animation. You don't want to export the animation. You can turn that off or keep it on if you don't have any keyframes. Always make sure you keep the FBX version for the export at 2016. It seems that it's the last stable FBX version. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You can export it once exported as it is. In Unreal Engine, you can like so see, I have multiple content browser. I'm gonna close them out because I'm gonna explain you what are them later on. So I will create, so in this content, okay, let me explain you what is Unreal Engine. Okay, this is Unreal Engine. Hello everyone, this is Unreal Engine, and here is your content browser. So this is where your content is located. But when you drag and drop them, so this is like kind of a storage room. When you drag and drop them to the scene, they get added here. This looks like a Maya outliner, okay? And then you've got like whatever you add to the scene. So these are the very basic elements that has been added because we have selected as a blank film template, which gives me atmospheric fog and floor and some light sources and stuff. So each one of them, the detail will be listed here. Sometimes you need like very quick items to add to the scene. You can access them here. Nice and neat. Let me just review like what needs to be done in the blocking. Yes, let's assume that the blocking is done, rough modeling, and maybe I'm gonna create a folder called objects, and I'm gonna bring all of my objects that I exported out as room here. It asks me if I want to come, so the important question that you might need to check is, do you want to convert the scene? Yes, because you see that here is the Y is, Maya is Y up like that, but Unreal Engine is Z up, so we have to convert the scene. But you want to convert units as well. So one of very important things in Maya that I have done, and I have listed in my first slide, is set Maya unit to meters. So here you see that I have, before starting doing the very simple blocking, I made sure click on this little running man, or go to the window, setting and preferences, click on the settings, make sure that in Maya by default it's centimeters like this. Now you're gonna make it to meters. So when you turn it into meters, each one of these blocks is 1 meter. So then here it's gonna like 3 meters, that one is like less than about 60 centimeters, like on each angle. So, and Unreal Engine likes that unit, the meter kind of unit. So you can convert scene unit as well, import them all of them gets imported, and you can, if they're not all selected, you can select all of them and drag and drop to your scene, and you can zero out there. I keep the 20 because that's the surface height, so you see them, they are here. But that's not like, I can start to later on, I just want to like detail one item here, and that's the chair. So for detailing the chair, I've gone through again another easy process, because the whole point of the process that I'm going through is how we can achieve what I have shown you, that is like that is inspired by this painting, very quick and fast. So I just detailed this chair like this. So I exported that in ZBrush. So if I show you my modeling refinement slide, we're gonna do the aging and weathering in ZBrush. I'm gonna import the object into ZBrush, turn it into Dynamesh, then use a bunch of brushes like Move and Trim Border Smooth and Clay Tubes and other stuff to make it aged. Then use Z Remesher to retopologize it and export it out of ZBrush as FBX, and do the UV mapping in Maya and take it back to Unreal Engine. So let's do that. Okay, before so like in Maya, you just go and file, export selection as FBX, pretty much like the other one, chair, and export it. Inside, actually it's better to export it as OBJ, so I export it as OBJ chair. Export the selection, not FBX, please. And one thing, it's better to be, you will see the Y, but it's better to be centered. So if it's not centered, like make sure you just kind of make it somehow centered. Where's our center point? It's there. Okay, and I'm gonna freeze transformation for that one. I don't know why the freeze transformation doesn't work. I probably know why, because I have manipulated the settings before. So okay, get back to it. So that one could have the transformation frozen as well. That was the issue. So I kind of export this. This would be better as OBJ. Import it in ZBrush. This is ZBrush. Easy to use. So that's Lightbox that is open. You just import it into ZBrush as an OBJ. Which is this chair OBJ? It's here. You just add it to your scene and you turn the editing on by pressing T on your keyboard. This is my chair. So the reason that I have centered it, because when I hold shift I just want to like snap it. So in ZBrush you move around by just clicking it, hold Alt and pan and let go of Alt and then zoom. So this chair is very, very sharp and computerized. It doesn't look like this lady. Okay, I'm gonna open PureRef and I'm gonna add that painting to that corner. Because I want it to be always on top. Actually, we're going to look at just chair. Control Shift A, it says always on top enabled. PureRef is just a tiny free app that is very useful, and it helps you just to keep your so you can throw like not just one but multiple images within this canvas and it stays there. So this is bend first, so let's start bending it. I'm gonna choose a new shader for that, skin shade 4, which is a popular shader. If I turn on the poly F, I can see that it doesn't have any polygons, so it's good to start subdivide it. But when I subdivide it, it goes crazily stupid. You look at that. Oh, that's not what I want. But you can turn off the smoothness and then subdivide it. And then more, you see that now we have about 1,000 polygons. So which is now visible. Or maybe more. Maybe more. Okay, we've got about 100,000 polygons, which is nice. So I hold S, make it my brush very large, then press BMV, or just click here and go and find move tool, which is, so when I press B, the brushes are open. When I press M, go to the move, and when I press V, selects the move tool. I would like to turn on the symmetry as well. I press X on keyboard to turn on symmetry. So here I can kind of like bend that part. So I'm gonna make it to look like that chair. Okay, this part is bent as well. Hold S, make it smaller. And yeah, nice. Okay, let's start adding some details. Dynamesh, as I said, you can go to geometry and in Dynamesh, turn it into Dynamesh. It becomes, oh no, this subdivisions as it is, and then you can use a move brush to keep moving things around if you like, to do a bit of adjustments. A brush that I'm gonna introduce you is called trim. So you don't see it here. It's called trim border smooth. You have to find it in Lightbox, in brushes. Some brushes are not there all the time, so I just go to trim, open the Lightbox, go to the brushes, then go to the trim, and that last one, trim smooth border, is that brush. It's a very, it's not for good, you know, it's a very brush good for like just edges. So that's why I just turn it very tiny, and then I start to, you know, make the edges. Actually, this Dynamesh could have higher resolution, maybe 500, and Dynamesh it again. Okay, that's better. I'm going to turn off the mirror because there's no point of having you know, weathering in a mirrored way. So I hold shift sometimes to smooth things around. Oh, my brush changed. Like that. All these edges, there's no such a sharp edge in an old chair. Okay, cool. There are other brushes that you can use, like clay build, which is a very popular brush. Everyone uses that. It's very good if you want to like kind of make things build up like a proper you know, sculpting brush. If you know, want to build things up and hold shift whenever you want to smooth things up. Maybe I do a little bit of clay building here, and then there's another brush called actually I don't like that sharpness. I'm gonna trim that down some parts. Okay, cool, better. Then, and also I like that, I don't like that sharp corners, some of it. Maybe on top as well. Okay, cool. There is even a wood plank brush, which is woods and wood planks. It's a brush that works when it's large, or not that large. Well, but it could be if you lower down the intensity. It could do some nice stuff for you. bang. But it kind of ruins the underneath, so that's why you have to mask out, or yes, mask out the top part. Actually, maybe just here. Click out, hold Control and click outside. Then you just add your stuff here. Your wood planks are added. I like it to be added better. Like, no. Okay. Then I press Control, reverse it. Maybe we add some underneath. Oh. Control, and then smooth things up. No, smooth, hold shift. I'm not gonna worry about like, because I'm gonna zero mesh it. Zero measure. How many polygons? Maybe around 3,000 polygons. Okay. Zero measure. Things a little bit. Okay, it's both like manageable and it has the detail I want, but it just doesn't have a proper UV, so I just export it out into back to Maya, chair aged 2 because I have one. Bring it back to Maya. We don't need you, lady. Sorry. Control Shift A. Yeah, that's the one. It's just there. There is. Okay. So that's the chair after kind of shaping it. Within my, so I'm gonna position it back to where it was before, which is here. We don't need this one. I call that one chair. Putting into the group. You can even, work on it more here. Just hold Shift right click Sculpt tool and go to the Sculpt menu and like properly, maybe move tool. Here again you've got move tool. You can hold B and make it larger for working around. Definitely don't want that, but you can like hold Shift and just like, if you see parts are not working well, maybe underneath as well. Anyway, so if this is what you want, you have to do a UV mapping. There's no UV on it. An automatic UV mapping should be fine. Mapping automatic. Not the best. If I would have had time, I would have gone through a proper mapping, but this one is fine for now. So what I do, after UV mapping, I export it out as FBX. This time FBX, call it chair age with UV. This is gonna be number 2, and we're gonna bring it into Unreal Engine. Convert scene unit as well. Bang. imported. Just gonna replace that chair. So we don't need that one. Even we don't need that one. The source might not be needed. So the chair is ready. So if that's how you do kind of a little bit of refining to make your objects aged and weathered. So let's get back to Unreal Engine. So we created an Unreal Engine in a film template blank project with ray tracing enabled. And as you might have realized, Unreal Engine, like navigation, tumbling is fine, looks like Maya. Zooming back and forth is fine, it looks like Maya. But panning is just like reverse, it's not what we used to. Easy to fix, go to the editor's preferences and search here for middle, and then you find this invert middle mouse pan, and then after that it's pretty much like Maya. Other stuff, when you select an object, press F again, like Maya. You can zoom into the selected instance. Here we call them instances. The reason is the source is here, and each time that you drop an instance, they all of them are looking at that source. What other? So the navigation here fixed it, but there's another way of navigating within Unreal Engine. I'm going to turn these indicators or items within the scene by pressing G on and off for the moment. If you press your mouse button, for me, I'm using a tablet, so I press the tablet pen on the tablet, and then start playing around with these keywords like A and W for left and right, A and D for left and right, S, W and S for going forward, back and forth, and E and Q for up and down. These are, whoever plays games are familiar with these shortcuts. These are universal gameplay shortcuts. So this is another way of interesting navigation within Unreal Engine, which after a while you might find it useful, especially when your scene is massive. So you go around and then you use your mouse for turning your head around. When you press Alt 2, so how you gonna, so you've got this like lit and then wireframe and like this kind of views, but you've got more than that. Alt 2 is wireframe, 3, 4 is the most commonly used, 5, 6, 7, 8. Each one of them give a different information. So, and even we have like even more complicated like level detail coloration, or there's all sorts of different way of looking at your scene. Press G for turning the scene items on and off. We don't want player start, it's not a game. Or maybe we don't, we want. Just let's keep it, I don't know. Okay. If someone might ask, okay, how like if Maya, I would be able to go to different orthographic views. In Maya, you press the space bar here. You can click on this little icon up there. You see top left side views. Oops. You have to make this one larger. Or you press Alt G H JK, which G is perspective. So okay, I'm gonna activate a plugin here a modeling mode, because we're going to use it later. So this is how, so Unreal Engine has gazillions of different plugins that you don't need to load them all because it's going to kill the engine, but you load the ones that you need. So I'm going to go to the edit and plugins and look for modeling tools and enable it. When I enable it, I have to restart Unreal Engine, but I'm not restarting it now. Well, I will restart it when I need it, when we get there. So that was the initial setup and how the environment and how like we find ourselves comfortable there. But the magic of Unreal Engine for visual effects artists and content creators is a library called Quixel. Quixel is a Quixel Bridge. You see that one is a free, if you use it when inside hang on, if you use it inside Unreal Engine, it's a free I'm gonna open the website for Quixel. Quixel.com. It has 3 applications, 3 products. Megascan, which is the largest library of photogrammetry items, the items that has been generated and converted into 3D objects using photogrammetry, objects and textures and things. Bridge, which is a tool to access that library, and Mixer, which is a texture painting app like Substance Painter. So when you install Bridge, before start doing anything, start it with this. So I'm gonna go to Quixel Bridge. Make a library path. Don't forget that these items are massive in size, some of them. So here you see that, like, I have go to the settings, I have chosen a directory that I in a drive that I have enough space on it to store massive amount of stuff. Second, you go to the download settings, not there. You go to the manage plugins and make sure you install the plugin for Unreal Engine. You see me, I have installed the plugin for Maya and Houdini as well because I use them. And then export settings. This is where you have to say, okay, I'm gonna export it to Unreal, and this is Unreal Engine version 4.26, and the plugin location is where the Unreal Engine is installed, which is on your drive C in Program Files, Epic Games. Here inside Engine and Plugins folder, that's the folder that you have to select. Once you do all of that, you are set. Then it's time to search what you need. Let's look at the lady's painting. You see that we've got a pot. Let's search for a pot. And then inside, so you've got different type of assets here. You've got 3D assets, 3D plants, which are again 3D objects, but plants. Surfaces, which are materials. The cows, which are very interesting, and I'm going to use it, is they are alpha based materials, so, and all sorts of other stuff. So let's go to the 3D assets like kind of a historic pot. This looks like similar to that. Well, not 100% close, but like it's similar. I'm gonna select something that I have not downloaded, because you see that this one has a blue tick next to it, which means I have downloaded. I select this one. You use the resolution of the texture that you need. I think 4K is more than enough for me. I press download, it gets downloaded. So it's coming. And then once downloaded, you just need to press export. And then bang, you get it inside your, so you say export successful. Then you see that your Unreal Engine starts to do the stuff. The stuff that it does is it generates a folder called Megascan and Megascan presets. And then here inside three objects, you see your pot with the shader and the textures. You just drag and drop it there. That's it. Let's select our light source and see if I can rotate it for now. So that's our pot. Then we need a, let's go back to Quixel and the lady, and I might need kitchen stuff, like search for kitchen. Oops, sorry, kitchen, and you will see 3D assets, lots of stuff that relates to kitchen, like you know, different type of things. You just like, you see that I have already selected, exported some of it, downloaded, done. So we have two terminology. Download means downloading it from cloud, which Quixel, Megascan. Export means once downloaded, sending it into Unreal Engine. I'm going to see if I can export multiple items at once. So yes, I can. I export them all. And we're gonna see them like here. Large wooden thing. So it's gonna be here. If you don't like this snapped rotation and movement, you can turn them off, so they're gonna be freely moving around, which would look more like a 3D application that you will be using. Wooden schemer, and like rotation, transform shortcuts are pretty much like Maya. Spatula. And that one, which is very cool. It's a giant spoon. we've got, I'm gonna work on the floor. It looks like a stone pavement. I will search for pavement. And you see there's plenty of assets here. Definitely not this pavement. A historical one maybe. Oh, that's a Roman pavement, which looks interesting. I export it into, this is close to what I have here, but needs a bit of work to fit it there. Gets imported. Before moving any further, what I do, I save my project. Make sure that, and you keep saying that save all, Control Shift S. Okay, that's my pavement. Drag and drop it here. Move it around. Hold Alt to duplicate it. Actually, yeah. Maybe rotate it. So this texture is not a bad shader for floor, because this part the camera not gonna see it anyhow. So I hold Alt for duplicating. So these ones, actually that's too repetitive. I'm gonna break the repetition a little bit, makes it a little bit more exciting. I'm selecting all of these Roman floors in the outliner and make them shallower. Okay, that's a nice pavement I have now. We do need bricks on the wall, so I can search for bricks. Brick, and you will see there's plenty of different bricks here. There are some objects, but this time instead of object I go and get a shader. So you see that I have downloaded this shader, and I export that into Unreal Engine, and it comes much faster because shader is quicker. And you see that 3D assets are those objects, and surfaces is the fancy name for materials or shaders. I keep pressing Ctrl Shift S to save everything. So this one is drag and drop there, but suddenly you see that, oh, these bricks are too large for that part. So then you have to select your shader, double click on it so it opens the attributes for that shader, and you go and say, hey, I want to adjust this. So if you want to see what happens underneath, then you see the graph network, or what is called as blueprints. You can click on this hierarchy and see the blueprint, which pretty much looks like Maya or Houdini, node graph. So this is what happens underneath, but please don't, and this is Megascan default material, so it's better not to touch that. But we have the possibility to adjust the instance, the attributes of the instance. So you can say that I'm gonna adjust the, let's say, enable global tiling, and tiling X and Y is maybe 3 by 3 or 3 by 2 here. That looks more similar to what we have here. But then there is this like kind of a wooden log that has been positioned there. You see that one? So you can search, or just this time I'm gonna navigate 3D assets. Go to the better to timber, or what's the word for that? Oh, these are atlases of the 3D assets, not timber. I'm looking for maybe a wood. Or wooden palette maybe. Okay, so that seems similar to that. Select it, download it, then export it into Unreal Engine. It comes there, drag and drop it. Wooden palette plank. It's there. Rotate it. Actually, the snapping would work. Help me here. Pick, 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 and then like kind of helps me to organize this better. It could be taller. Why not? And keep position that here. Hold Alt, make another version of it, and maybe I rotate it so avoid repetition. Okay, what we should do for the wall, we can find a wooden wall texture maybe. You see me, I have downloaded a couple of them. One of them was working very well. Cracked wooden planks. Maybe that one. Let me try that. Trying to drop. Looks interesting but massive, so just go tiling, making it 10 by 10. Oh yeah, that's nice. And that one here. Chair. What about chair? No, it doesn't work on the chair. I need something. Let's go to the surfaces. Wood. Where are you? Wood. And found something interesting for the chair, which was like kind of very. I have to click Alt. Oh yeah. No. Sorry. No. Surfaces. Wood. On something old and not polished, of course, but very kind of consistent as well, homogeneous as well. Oh, this one is old log wall. That one is very interesting actually. I just found it now. Let me use that as the wall. And export it. Then instead we can rotate what we have here for the chair. So you will see that I can start rotation angle for the chair and ignore the wall, but it might work at some point. Yeah. No. Okay. So let's assume that that's good for chair. Then for the wall, old lock. That's interesting. Tiling 10 by 10. Yeah. So things that I hate are these sharp corners. I like to fill them in. So here is a way of like actually I can show you how to use a very interesting brush called foliage, or not brush, a tool inside Unreal Engine. So I'm gonna go and in 3D assets in okay, this is what I was looking for. These tiny debris, they are tiny wooden debris. You can export them into Unreal Engine and you will see suddenly you've got plenty of this little tiny debris here. See that, like all this mess is because there are plenty of them. But then you're looking for a kind of a brush that helps you scatter them around on the surface of the objects that you have. Okay, so I have these tiny debris here. You see that there are plenty of them. I can select all of them. Oh, there are many. And then go to these modes and foliage, and you see that they are loaded here. You might want all of them, so you can select all of them and make sure that they are all on. Then suddenly when you come to your scene, you see this like big brush that is gonna scatter like foliage around. You just saw that it scattered a lot of tiny debris around everywhere, even here. We might not undo that. We might not need that massive brush, which you can change the size to much smaller. The size of the brush, which is here in top. Still too much. 30, and the density too high, like let's say 2000. Okay, so then when I go to this corner and I drag, you know, I scatter all of these little tiny things there in the corner. If this is too small for you, you can throw them on any surface. The beauty of this brush and Unreal Engine in general is that it kind of recognizes the surface. I don't need that last one. Okay, I can find somehow these three debris. These are like better somehow. I want something larger. Okay, I have downloaded that one, wooden stick and twigs. I import that one in as well. Okay, 3D assets. This is the list. Okay, I'm gonna add these ones now to the foliage. And use these ones now instead. Actually, they are already on. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's better. They are larger, so I can kind of throw them here in the corner and there and here. So you have to carry on. I'm not gonna go through every detail, so you can carry on and bring larger stuff. For that, I found a nice stone kitchen door that could be placed there. So I'm gonna go through a couple of points. Like, let's move on. Before move on to the lighting and shading, I'm going to tell you about decals as well. Let's say you want a nice ash on the floor, which you can see here. There are some ash around on the floor. By the way, you can create an object. Let's say a sphere. Yeah. I'm going to turn off foliage and scale this down, put it here within our hot and you can just find an ash shader and just apply on that, so it's kind of looks like that. You can find it here. Also, if you go to the, like, if you search for ash, let's say, you will find a lot of different things, and also you will find decals, but this I'm gonna look at. So the beauty of Quixel is that sometimes you just find like a collection of different things. This is a burnt forest that has been scanned, so you see lots of different elements that you can bring them, like this burnt logs. But what I'm looking for is this, like this ash and charcoal pile, that if you look at the type is a decal. This one is a 3D plant, this one is a decal. So how a decal works, so you just import it in, and then it comes to a folder called atlases, and then you just drag and drop it to your scene, and boom, you've got these ashes everywhere, like massive amount of ash. But you don't want that much, you just want just a little. So, but you will see that whenever it touches, it throws all that ash onto it, okay? So it's kind of like a planar projection in Maya, but it applies on the whole universe that is working on. So, but you can take it away from, just select your objects, and then you go to a search here for decal, and then turn off receive decal for these objects, and these objects don't receive that projection, as easy as that. So that's how to use a decal. I think we've gone through enough. Oh, one thing, so if you, one important thing, if you import a metal shader, let's say a gold, shader, you see I already have done. You download it and you export it. You may find yourself realizing that it might not behave the way you are expecting, so it looks like a plastic, like, rather than a gold. So what you will do is you just like make sure that you double click on that and make sure that the metallic is on, and then yeah, and also in texture maps the metalness is turned on, which sometimes your shader might have metalness shader, and then just make sure that it's on. That's not gonna be metal, of course. However, we have to move on. Okay, I think, okay, so like we come to the lighting and shading part. So you can have a HDR for your skylight. So you see that when you realize that we had some basic light sources, a skylight here, but the skylight is just doing what it likes. It's not using a HDR shader. So I am going to download some HDR shader from HDRI Haven, and the HDR that I'm gonna download, I would like it to look like that room that the lady is in. So we're gonna go indoors, and we're gonna go for something old and rusty. How is that one? That's 2. That could do, I think, but it's too bright over there. But there was another one up here. Oh yeah, maybe I use that one, small cave, or I use this one, abandoned workshop, or this reinforced concrete. I have a feeling that the cave would do the job for us because the tonality of the colors up and down looks similar. I go with 2K is enough for us. So it's here. You just good to make a folder called HDRI, high dynamic range imagery, and then drag on that. Wait until readers, Ctrl Shift S, save everything. This one's gonna be, instead of capturing the existent light of the scene, you can set it to the Quebec map and drag and drop it. So, but Unreal Engine has recently added a very interesting feature called Sky Atmosphere. So you can drag and drop that into your scene, and when it adds, you can go and find your light source, your directional light source, and make sure your sunlight actually or light source, which is the sunlight, and then make sure that the sky atmosphere, atmosphere sunlight, yes, it's on. Yeah. Then now if I hold Ctrl and L, I can drag around. Okay, so you see that I can change the time of the day. So you don't need to drag, but just hover on top. So this room, I think the time of the day is towards the evening. Yet, like the direction would be, that's good. I would have Ctrl L. Okay, I need some redness. That's what I want. Okay, cool. And what else? So you saw me adding a skylight and a atmospheric sky atmosphere. Before adding a post-processing it's good to start adding a post. I'm gonna turn this one into wood as well because it's too distracting. Cracked wooden planks maybe on that one too. It works. And an ash shader here, or let's look at that burned forest there. See the shaders. Is there anything burning specifically? Burned forest floor. Let's grab this and download it and export it. I need something for that one. There we are. Okay, I don't know what that preview is, but it seems that you should not use the sky atmosphere and sky atmosphere fog. I know that. Okay, I delete that atmosphere fog. But we'll figure that out. Okay, so I am going to do the post-processing volume. So this post-processing volume is a node, or just an actor as Unreal Engine calls it. So we used to have one here, so no. So everything that you see, anything that is inside the scene, Unreal Engine calls them actor. So the first thing that we're gonna turn on is this infinite extend unbound, which so it just kind of like makes sure that like our lighting attributes and all other stuff like is not within like this boundary, and it applies to infinite everywhere. Auto exposure for your light. So here we have used a skylight, or auto exposure. Is it on the light or is it on the exposure? It's on the post-processing, I believe. Because Unreal Engine, yes, on post-processing. Unreal Engine exposure. Here you see that it has this mean and max. Unreal Engine adjusts the time based on its, wherever the player goes, it automatically changes the exposure of the time. We don't want that. We want it to be the way we want. So we set it to 1 to 1. So then we realize that the light source might need to be stronger, and a sky atmosphere might need to be, actually you can turn off, delete or remove the sky sphere and just rely on that sky atmosphere. Skylights, intensity. Yeah, we don't need that one again because this sky atmosphere does the whole job for us. But we might need to do. Okay, we will turn on the ray tracing when we want to do the rendering. Texture streaming must be off on post processing or on the lights. No, I forgot where it is. It's in project setting, texture streaming, streaming. We have texture streaming. It's on. We make sure that it's off, and then I talked about metallic. We added a directional light, which we used. We added the sky atmosphere. You change the light. Okay, I'm gonna add an exponential height fog. So if you search for a fog, you've got this exponential height fog. You might don't see any fog here. It actually is added to the very massive landscape. But if you increase the fog density, let's go like 1, bang, everywhere gets foggy. And the fog intensity, I like to make it to the color of that photo, in a like a warm yellowish. 1 is definitely too much, but like that much would be nice. You can play around with other attributes of the fog. Actually, this fog has a bloom feature that's when you rotate to the light source. Where's the light source? Which is there. It will bloom. That's the light shaft. If you turn that on and then go to the light shaft bloom, you get this gorgeous effect, which we won't see it here, but if you would have had any window and which was looking towards that spot, you will get this light shaft effect happening. That was the lighting. If you are ready for rendering, actually we should have added the camera right at the beginning. I was pretty forgetful about that, but that's okay. You can add a cine camera. I press Ctrl+Shift S to save it. Come on. Okay. Camera. A cine camera actor is a good one. So the moment you add it, it starts to function. The reason you don't see it because in the scene we press G. So I press G back on, so the camera is back. So the kind of focal length here I see is, let's go wide, and so you see the camera possibilities. So you can go for a very wide okay, it's here, focal length. So like, let's go 22, and the camera goes forward. So this is kind of like a nice, actually it can go up and just looks down. I'm going to turn off the grid and yeah, look through that like this. Imagine that you just like do like a shot like this. If you want to do for unconventional framing like this, you can just adjust it here. So the film back is 16:9, but you can do it like anything you want, or you can just type it like it's, I don't know, 10:15. But I just go to that 16:9 for the moment. And maybe I go further back and I use a tighter lens like 60. And you see I get like a nice depth of field, and I go even further back, and then so how this depth of field works, you can play around with this focus setting and turn this debug plane on. No, not that one. Smooth focus change, manual focus distancing. Oh, actually that's the one. That the fog was the reason I couldn't see it. So you see that I'm bringing that massive wall to the front. This is where the focusing gonna happen. So it's gonna land on the chair and this area. So that kind of leads me, if you close your aperture enough, the aperture is 2.8. Maybe I'm gonna go if the maximum minimum of the aperture lens settings, the maximum minimum, the minimum is 1, but I make it 0. And here I go to like very crazy settings, but you see that like suddenly I blurred here and the back, but it looks unnatural. I think 1 is, or 1.2 is enough. So that's your camera setup, and if you want the camera to move like this and you create your cinematics, not just camera, anything that's gonna be animated, you need a timeline. A timeline in Unreal Engine is called sequencer. I create a folder for sequencers, and there I create a cinematic add level sequence, and I save it here and I call it sequence 1 or whatever sequence. A timeline is added, easy to work with. I'm gonna press G here, drag and drop your camera here, you get your camera there, and as you might realize, the timing is here. Maybe 100 frames is enough for us, and 100 frames is here. If you wanted more, like 500 frames, you can kind of extend your timeline and your area, but I think 100 frames is enough for me. And what I would do is I turn on the transform. I start to animate the transformation. You can click a keyframe here, go to the last frame, move the camera maybe forward and add another keyframe there. So you see that, like, that's our animation. But before rendering, there's a bunch of things to think about. The quality is not good enough because the ray tracing is not on. So just go to the post-processing, which is a node that contains all of the details we want. If I zoom in, you will see the effect. I go to the, so here I search for ray trace and I turn on post-processing volume. So on post-processing volume I search for ray tracing and I see a lot of ray tracing stuff. I turn all of them on. And you will see that the sample per pixel is 1. The maximum sample per pixel is 1. I can go 4. I can go 4 here. And even 8 on this. For ray tracing reflections, there are no reflections here, but that's why I leave them. But if you have to play with them. You see that the light started to like bounce there. So these ray tracing stuff are located under post-processing volume settings. Under here, rendering features, we gonna, I can even turn on global illumination, but go for the area shadows, which gives me softer shadows for the and if you add like translucency, make sure your translucency is ray tracing as well. We have to set up ray tracing maximum roughness to 1. And so here you see that the ray tracing let me search for ray tracing. That's easy. Ray tracing maximum roughness here on the reflections is 0.6. I make it 1 and maximum bounce to 4. Again, you get a better result over there. Other stuff that you can do is to turn on cast ray tracing shadows for the skylight. So select your skylight, which here is sky atmosphere, or that one, light source. Turn the cast ray tracing shadow on, which is already on because the whole setup was based on ray tracing. Increase ray tracing sampling for skylights. So sample per pixel is 1. We can go for 4 or 8. And okay. So there is something that makes, but when we are back, things get a little bit blurry. That's how the engine functions. there's a way to turn that off. You just search for the noise. The lights that we have used is called light source or skylight denoise. You see that like ray tracing skylight denoiser is on, so it's already on like this. But you can do the same thing, call skylight denoise and make sure it's off. I don't have it here because I'm using if you use skylight, I use sky atmosphere. Let's look at the ray tracing features of sky atmosphere, which looks pretty neat. Or if it might have any. Yes, it does have it has Rayleigh scattering. Anyway, we have to make sure that everything works well for us. What else? I think we're ready to render it out. So how we render it out? We just here, we click on the render to movie and then make a image sequence, maybe a PNG image sequence, 1080p, and compression quality is 100, no compression, 24 frames per second, or so the frame rate is 30 frames per second. If you want 24 frames per second, you have to set it here. So but I just undo that because we should have done that at the beginning. There's no audio at the moment. Animation. Okay, everything seems fine. I just select a folder. It saves in the same folder that, so I press capture video, everything gets saved. That's the shot we're seeing. This little twigs that we have added, the foliage one, is not working well for us in this fog or light. It's called, let me see, what are them? They are all under which instance foliage actor, which is, where are you? I want to keep them. Where's my ash on the floor? Anyway, so you can work around with the elements that you have. So like this instant foliage. There must be something that makes it render better. I have no idea. We can find out an object that works well. So the rendering is already done. It's real time. That's the name. So it's fast and quick. So, and it's inside saved video capture. It's basically doesn't render. It's just like plays it, and then so I should make sure that I should either get rid of those ones or find out what's the issue with them, so and fix them. So that was the first overview of Unreal Engine and the use of it for a real-time content creation, which might be interesting for visual effects artists.